All right, let's go. So 1984. So you can probably notice a pattern here. The start is the same, and they just changed the last part. To what extent does the exploration of human experience in now this is a difficult question. Also going through COVID, it's kind of also a very relevant question. And we're going to attack it the same way we attacked the one before. Step 1, identify key concepts. Step 2, define key concepts. Step 3, you have now addressed the question and you're ready to answer it. Let's go. So, just making sure we can see, to what extent does the exploration of human experience in 1984 invite you to reconsider your understanding of loneliness? So keep in mind, like, as you talk through it, now because I'm doing a lot of talking, usually a lot of this process would be in my head, but I'm doing it out loud because I want you to see what it's like. And just because you haven't written it down, like, you can write down the word AE345 if that's the buzzword that helps you remember the thought that you had when you were thinking about how you're going to be defining this key concept. That's all that matters. The words that you put down in this planning phase, not as important. No one's marking them. It's the thoughts. It's the thoughts that you're trying to remember. That's what it's for. You don't have to write out complicated sentences. Don't do that. Don't waste your time. Especially because in reading time, you can't write. Right? So this is what you can do. You can start thinking, okay, how am I going to explore this? And then as soon as writing time starts, do not jump at your thesis. Believe me, it's worth it. It's worth it just to underline. And then quickly write a buzzword. It's worth it. Please trust me. It's worth it to do that, because that way you make sure that you don't forget that question or that part of the question. If I hadn't underlined that is its strength, that is its weakness, I would have forgotten it while I was writing my essay. I would have moved on. And this is not a computer. You can't go back and edit it in, right? You have to do, and you have to make sure your introduction looks beautiful. You have to. Like teachers, markers, they want to see clean, neat handwriting. They don't want to see too much messy stuff, insertions. Oh, go over here for the next line, go over there for the next line. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Okay. Let's go. To what extent does the exploration of human experience, so how does 1984 represent human experience? It represents human experience through complicity, through issues of complicity, through people being denied the fundamental rights to freedom of expression. Invite you to reconsider your understanding of loneliness. So you can see that loneliness, instead of it being just kind of a momentary feeling that you sometimes feel because your friends went out to brunch and they didn't invite you, is much more intense in here, because it's not just a small thing. Like loneliness in 1984, Winston has been cut off from his wife, right? Like his wife was a thorough party member, and he's not allowed to talk to anyone. There's the people he talks to are Syme, who is again a really loyal party member. He is really loyal to the party, and he doesn't have anyone who he can express his thoughts with authentically. And what ends up happening is, because of that loneliness, because his only connection is to the party, he starts adopting the ideals of the party himself, right? He becomes just as misogynistic as the party. For example, in one part of the novel, I remember he goes something like, the narration goes something like, he hated Julia because he wanted to sleep with her and he knew he would never do so. And it's that particular line that really, kind of screamed at me, because it was like this person's value, Julia's value to Winston, is only there if he can use it for some sense of self-gratification. And that's exactly how the party sees humans, right? Like the party looks at these people as, oh, what can they do for the party? Nothing, toss them out, right? And it's that same commodifying of human lives, that his loneliness has perverted his mind. So, start the same way. 1984's exploration of, just going to make sure it's visible, just going to move that up a little bit. There we go, perfect. Exploration of human experience oops, 1984's exploration of human experience through the denial of fundamental rights like freedom of expression compelled me to realize how isolating citizens can powerfully expression compelled me to realize how powerful isolating citizens can be as the party's exploitation be as the party exploits Winston's and other party members loneliness to 1984's exploration of human experience through the denial of fundamental rights like the freedom of expression compelled me to realize how powerful isolated citizens can be as the party exploits Winston's and other party members' loneliness to control and subjugate them. So here in the first response I used the word reconsider. So that means the rest of my essay would be arguing about how our love for our sense of safety is not okay. But here I used the word realize for reconsider, which means that I did not even know that loneliness was capable of this, right? So that's what this would be arguing, that because people are being isolated from one another and from even their own thoughts, they're scared. There's a thing called the thought police. People consistently under surveillance. They can't actually fathom the extent of their oppression. They can't join together and protest that oppression. So they're stuck, they're alone, and it's easy to subjugate them, to control them, divide and conquer. And now, as you can see here, you saw that I was thinking, my brain was churning, right? And it takes a while, like even with me, it takes a while, right? I'm not a HSC student anymore. My brain isn't, like my vocabulary isn't as diverse as it was while I was in HSC. But I have taught this and I practiced it a lot in HSC and I understood 1984. So even 3 years later, when I haven't read the book since 3 years ago, I can remember lines from 1984. I can remember sequences. I can remember the main ideas because 1984 was, like, if I'm being honest, it was one of the only texts that I actually fully read during my HSC, and it really changed my view of the world. And here, even though it's a text that I really love, it's a text that I read fully to completion, it's something I struggled with for answering this question. And it's hard. Like, written communication is hard. You see, I cross this out, and then I cross that out, and yeah. Oh, I forgot one word. I should have said significantly compelled me. Well, I can say strongly. That makes more sense. Strongly compelled me. So just remember. So even I'm making mistakes, but it's important to note these things down. Did you do the to what extent? 1984's exploration of human experience through the denial of fundamental rights like the freedom of expression strongly compelled me to realize how powerful isolating citizens can be, as the party exploits Winston's and other party members' loneliness to control and subjugate them. Booyah! Done! And guys, that's our first video today. I hope that you are ending this video by having a go yourself to both questions. Having a go at one of the questions. I hope that you're walking away feeling a little bit more confident and feeling like you understand how to proceed with English a little bit better. There are lots of videos coming. There's a lot of resources that I'm working on for you guys. If there are any comments, if there are any questions that you have, please leave them below. I would love for you to like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. And thank you so much for coming to class. And as always, remember to take a shower. That's good.